Welcome to the TTT News Special. I'm DK Roster. We are focusing, pun intended, on Bright Antilles. It's a local company that develops innovative educational programming designed to help prepare students for optimum success in and beyond school. Founded by former university professor, Princeton and Yale-trained educator Dr. Danielle Elliot. And Dr. Elliot joins us now. How you do, Dr. Elliot?
I'm doing fine, thank you, DK. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. But I'm curious, what is the premise of this course? Why say, okay, well, this is something that we're going to design and do?
That's a great question. The premise behind the course and the whole impetus behind the course is addressing what I think is the number one issue that faces students, or that students face, especially lower secondary school learners. It's that those three little words that as parents let us know our kids are frustrated, and as teachers we find frustrating because we've taught as much as we can, the I don't understand. And so it's sort of finally addressing, giving kids the skill to be able to understand what they read.
And I like the fact that you're actually able to articulate and use those three. But it seems as though I want to ask whether or not it's just understanding, is it what goes into some of those things? Because sometimes we say, okay, well, it's just this, so we need to fix this. What are some of the factors that go into that?
Well, for me, it's something that I hear frequently from students who I've worked with, but also from teachers and parents, that when we dig a little bit more, I don't understand what the question is, what's the question I'm being asked, whether it's for the exam or the test, or students who are doing reading comprehension work and providing answers, but not answering the question that they were asked, or are missing the main point or the main ideas of what's being communicated to them in the text that they're reading. So across the board, what this is addressing is it's good old-fashioned reading comprehension, right? It's one thing when our students don't understand a particular formula or a concept, but they should be able to say, I understand what I'm being told and maybe need some additional information. But I'm talking about that first level of just simply, I don't understand, right? And it's frustrating in a way, and I think it lets us know about their frustration too, because simply not being able to understand is it's a first impasse there. We're at a roadblock right away in learning and in being able to garner what it is they're trying to be taught.
And with that, do you make a distinction between literacy and comprehension?
That's a great question. I would say comprehension is about, well, let me take literacy first. And by the way, comprehension is an aspect of literacy. But if we're talking about basic literacy, we're talking about being able to understand and read a word, putting those letters together, understanding that that's a word. This set of words strung together is a sentence. The sentence is strung together as a paragraph, right? And they're understanding the essential mechanics of reading is basic literacy. What we're talking about here with comprehension is now I understand all of those words. I'm a functional literate reader, but I'm not able to garner the meaning of the text. I'm not able to even express what I just read back to the teacher, back to the text. I'm not certain how any of this fits together in a context. So now we have a student who can read, but can't really engage or relate with what they're being read or what they're reading. And that's a problem.
I actually know one teacher, well, and to me, my best teachers used to fat up my head the most, leave me a certain amount of dissonance, so I need to go and try to resolve it. But one teacher, I never had the experience of being under him, but what he said is that there were some questions that he would put, and he knows that he's going to catch some people, because he would put some numbers and say, okay, well, put these, and he has them possibly sequentially, possibly not. But he asked, what is the highest even number? But at the same time, the highest number overall was an odd number. So it seems as though sometimes as you hear highest, you go and put the highest number not reading the entire thing through. Or even if you read and you understand those units, like you're saying, you didn't put those modules or those modular blocks together of words to come up with what is really being asked, and you get in your own way.
Well, that is a big part of it, and that's sometimes, every now and then we have to allow for that. There's a moment, perhaps in an exam, when somebody was nervous and they might have missed, as you say, as your teacher's example, one of those keywords like overall or the even number. But we're talking about, that's one level, and in its essence, that ends up being a larger problem when we're now out of the pressure of an exam. We have a student alone with a book, no pressure of time, and they're reading a paragraph or 2, 3 paragraphs and not able to engage with it. This skill that I'm focusing on in cracking the comprehension code, the reason I think it's the #1 issue is because it's a thing that typically keeps our very smart, our intelligent students, our bright students, from being able to feel a sense of confidence that any text that's put in front of them, if they read it carefully enough, that they can actually understand the context, understand the main ideas.
So you gave us the name of it. So take us a little further down in terms of cracking the comprehension code.
Yes.
If we're looking at an agenda, by the end of this course, this workshop that you're facilitating, what are you hoping that individuals are able to in terms of competence?
Yeah. Well, I call it a mini course because it's kind of a way to get in, focus, and get out. But by the end of that experience, they're going to be able to they'll have a set of tools and particularly a set of very useful questions and a specific guide that will allow them to read any text and understand what the main ideas are. So being able to identify those ideas and then the sub-ideas underneath that, and then being able to articulate or express what it is that they've read, right? And that's something that they can apply to anything. That's a lot of times we think about that as just for English or for English literature, but that is the history class, that is social studies, that is the assignment for homework when they're given the textbook. That is information they're asked to research online on the internet. That is, as I said, the exam question. That's the math problem, right? That is really why this is so foundational. It's a core skill. It's applicable and essential really to the entire learning curriculum. By the way, DK, can I add one thing?
Please.
This is not just a school skill. This is something that they will need in university. This is something they will need in life, being able to take a look at any piece of writing and know that you have the confidence to be able to understand what's being communicated in that text.
Well, that's the question that I wanted to ask. Is it just comprehension, or does comprehension competence factor in further afield, and that further afield goes further than the classroom, as you would have just started to itemize?
I think I would say it goes further than the classroom because we tell our children, we're focused sometimes on exams, preparing for an exam or preparing for the next level in school. But what we need to, I think, more often say to them is how many times in our day we're asked to take a look at a piece of writing, whether it's a short instruction, you're downloading something from the internet, you're uploading something to your phone. The guidance being given is, as long as it's in a written form, instructions for medication, instructions for anything, articles in the newspaper, the applications for a job, right? We're letting them know this is going to be fundamental. And so once you have the confidence to read anything and understand it really well, then you really have built up not only their strength as learners, but their self-esteem as well, and given them an advantage that's necessary forever. That's kind of why I call this a forever skill, because you're going to need it forever, and you're going to need it in a wide variety of instances in life.
And I want to get into the way that you're going to be bringing this mini camp with this mini course across and learning styles. Because I remember learning some things because they were rhyming. My mom taught chemistry for forever, and there's a one she had, little Johnny was with us, but now he is no more because what he thought was H2O was H2SO4. Yeah, sulfuric acid is not nice to drink. But we will discuss this. We continue the conversation when we return. We're speaking with Dr. Danielle Elliot about cracking the Comprehension Code. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with Dr. Danielle Elliot, speaking about cracking the Comprehension Code. Now, Dr. Elliot, you say this is a forever skill, and I appreciate that. But in order to really get where you're going, I think you would have had to focus this group or this mini camp or this mini group. Who is your target grouping?
Well, I'm specifically targeting students in the lower secondary school. So those who are entering forms 1, 2, and 3. It's not that it can't be helpful for students in later forms. It's just by that time, we hope, fingers crossed, they will have gotten that sense of confidence and gotten this. And I'm happy at times to entertain the possibility of taking upper level students, but it's particularly set to forms, those entering forms 1 through 3. The thing, DK, is this is before they divide up according to subjects that they're going to focus on and not focus on. This is before they start thinking about the end of school exams, like the CSEC exam. This is and typically before a lot of students are bogged down with lessons upon lessons upon lessons, right? And yet in one 3-day mini course, they can crack the comprehension code, get those skills, and then move on and apply them for the rest of the curriculum and really for the rest of their lives.
And what kind of teaching style, what kind of things are you using inside of this 3-day project? And I say that because I'm also thinking about the pandemic, about the fact that things are still very virtual, and virtual learning versus face-to-face can be a very different kettle of fish. So how does that factor into what it is you're doing?
No, that's a great question. So first off, I will say that this is an online course, and it will be taught in a way that's similar to the experience that a lot of our students have had really during the pandemic, where they're taught online. I use, because we're drawing on, because I'm teaching a variety of students, right? And you never know where students are. I draw on 2 or 3 different kinds of learning. So for visual learners, for auditory learners, for learners who move according to movement. Those particularly are the 3 types of learning styles I'll be addressing. There will be material that will be shared with the students online, and there's an opportunity also for them to write during the class and get some feedback right away. So it's online, and yet because it's live, there ends up being a hands-on factor to it. By the way, that's part of the reason I capped these classes at 10 students.
Well, I wanted to ask.
So that it's a small group, but also there's a sense of some individualized attention, because that really makes a difference here as well.
Definitely. That is something that I wanted to ask, because I have heard some horror stories about 70 students in one class and expecting to get the same results as a class that would normally have 25, 30 students. And you'd be able to tell some things in terms of body language. Okay, this person doesn't necessarily get it. All right, this person, let me call on them to see where they're at. And let me, because you're trying to meet the person where they are at. And I think, to me, trying to meet someone where they're at, it can also take longer as well, as opposed to just saying, okay, well, we're giving you the information, throwing it against the wall. If it sticks, all right. If it doesn't, remedial for you. So I'm glad that you were able to say, okay, well, we're going to be doing it with a limited amount so that you get most bang for your buck.
Yes. And I think that that's important to really care for the students. My heart goes out to any teacher or students who've had to deal with such big classes. A small group means we can address the specific concerns of students, but also I can keep checking in. Are you understanding where we are? Before we move on, are we all together? I've also really worked to distill down to its essence the main points and a technique that students will find useful in order for us to be able to deliver on the promise that at the end of this, they will have cracked the comprehension code for themselves.
And how do people contact you or get in touch with you to be able to be a part of this exercise?
I'm so sorry, DK. Can you repeat that question? I didn't quite hear that.
If I have a child, if I have a relative, if I have someone who wants to be a part of it, how do they contact you?
Oh, absolutely. The easiest way to get in contact with us is to visit and message our Facebook page where all the information is, and that's Bright Antilles. Bright as in we take this kid from the dark room of not understanding and shine the light on that. And Antilles as in where we are in Caribbean. So Bright Antilles, our Facebook page, or by calling 774-6096. That's 774-6096. And I've received some calls from grandparents who I think are probably starting to become my favorite my favorite kind of parents to talk to, and I love their concern. So if you're a relative who is finding out this information, you're going to pass that on to the parent, please have them check us at Bright Antilles, message the Facebook page, or give us a call directly at that number. And the cost of the program is $550 TT per student. So it really is a steal for something that you're going to be able to use forever.
And I want to follow you up on that a little bit, speaking to the grandparents. Is it something that you think you can actually share or repurpose? Because, like you said, grandparents are some of those people who are trying to step into that gap, being the facilitators between education and caregiving, especially if parents are out working, doing the needful.
Yes.
But sometimes, you know, okay, I want to help, but I'm not sure I have the tools. Is that something you have considered already?
I think it is. I would say that if you are a parent or grandparent, I first of all love liaising with parents and grandparents and you know, rather relatives, aunties, whoever's, you know, raising that child. And there are some recommendations that I will make at the end of the program that will be given to both the student learner and their parent, right? I also like, you know, this age group, forms 1 through 3. It's a time when it's a nice moment, let's just say, to foster more conversation between children and those who care for them. So I always send them home with 1 or 2 questions, definitely in between the second and the third day, that they can ask their caregivers. Really, that's for engaging them as learning partners. So that's a little part of the course too.
You're one of those teachers who give people problems. Well, Miss said, or Miss said to ask you. And
don't worry, it's an open book test. It's nothing that's tough. It really is just the kind of dialogue opening conversation starter that just says, look, I'm learning something new. I'm finally understanding it with clarity. And, you know, now let's engage.
And I take that and I look at the name Bright Antilles, looking at the fact that education comes from educare, to illuminate from within. And we want to thank you for putting in that work, Dr. Elliott. And more power to you. And hopefully people see the benefits and engage with you on that. Remembering the number is 774-6096.
774-6096. You got it.
All right. Thank you so much. And we want to thank you on behalf of the entire news team for tuning in to the TTT News Special. Thank you for joining us.